Every generation has that one player who makes people say, we've never seen this before. Pele had it, Ronaldo Nazario had it, Messi had it, Cristiano Ronaldo had it, and now Lamine Yamal might have it too. Because at just 19 years old, Yamal has already achieved things that most footballers will never achieve in their entire careers. He's won the Euros, he's become one of Barcelona's biggest players, and now he's a World Cup winner. At just 19. So as ridiculous as it sounds, I think we genuinely need to ask the question, could Lamine Yamal actually become the greatest footballer of all time? Now, before anyone gets angry, I'm obviously not saying Yamal is better than Messi or Ronaldo right now. He's nowhere near them. We're comparing a teenager to two players who dominated football for nearly 2 decades. But that's not the question. The question is, could he eventually get there? Because when you compare where Yamal is now to where Messi and Ronaldo were at the same age, things start getting very interesting. Let's go back to when Yamal was just 15. While most players his age were still playing academy football, Yamal was making his Barcelona debut. 15 years old. Think about that. He wasn't even old enough to drive, and he was playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world. But we've seen wonder kids before. Being young doesn't automatically mean you're going to become an all-time great. The difference with Yamal is that he didn't just make his debut early. He became one of the Barcelona's most important players. Then came Euro 2024. Yamal was just 16 years old. And instead of looking overwhelmed on the biggest stage of his life, he looked like he'd been playing international football for years. He helped Spain win the tournament, produced one of the goals of the competition against France, and suddenly the conversation changed. Yamal wasn't just a wonder kid anymore. He was becoming one of the best players in world football. And somehow, that wasn't even the biggest international achievement of his teenage years, because 2 years later came the 2026 World Cup, and Spain won it. Meaning before his 20th birthday, Lamine Yamal had already won both the European Championship and the World Cup. Just think about how ridiculous that is. Cristiano Ronaldo never won the World Cup. Messi had to wait until he was 35 to finally lift it. Yamal? He had won before turning 20. Now obviously winning a World Cup doesn't automatically make Yamal better than either of them. Football is a team sport, but when we're talking about his potential to eventually become the greatest ever, having a World Cup on his resume this early is massive, because that's one of the trophies he'll never have to spend the rest of his career chasing. And that's where the Messi and Ronaldo comparison becomes really interesting. Messi at 17 was obviously an unbelievable talent. People inside Barcelona already knew he was special, but he wasn't carrying the responsibility that Yamal has already had been given. Cristiano Ronaldo, at 18 and 19, Ronaldo was an exciting winger at Manchester United. He had the step-overs, he had the pace, he had the confidence, but he wasn't the Cristiano Ronaldo we remember today. That version came later. Yamal, meanwhile, he has already spent his teenage years playing huge Champions League games, El Clasicos, European Championships, and a World Cup. And he's not just participating, he's winning. But here's where we need to slow down. Because being ahead of Messi and Ronaldo at 19 doesn't mean you'll finish ahead of them. Football history is full of players who look destined for greatness. Neymar looked capable of challenging Messi and Ronaldo. Ronaldo Nazario looked almost unstoppable before injuries changed his career. Even Michael Owen reached incredible heights extremely young. Getting to the top is difficult. Staying there for 15 years is something completely different. And that's what made Messi and Ronaldo ridiculous. Messi didn't dominate football for 3 seasons. He did it for basically an entire generation. Goals, assists, league titles, Champions League, Ballon d'Ors, and eventually the World Cup. Cristiano did the same in a completely different way. He transformed himself from an exciting winger into one of the greatest goal scorers football has ever seen. He dominated in England, then Spain, then Italy, and he continued performing at the highest level well into his 30s. So if Yamal wants to surpass them, talent isn't going to be enough. He needs longevity. And that's probably the biggest question surrounding him. He's already played an enormous amount of senior football for someone so young. Barcelona depend on him, Spain depend on him, and football's calendar isn't exactly getting smaller. More matches, more competitions, more international games, and more pressure. We've already seen what injuries can do to young players who explode onto the scene. So Barcelona and Spain have to protect him. Because if Yamal stays healthy, his ceiling is almost impossible to predict. And there's something else working massively in his favour. Time. He's 19. He's already won the Euros, he's already won the World Cup, and he potentially has another 15 years at the highest level. Imagine what his career could look like if he continues developing. Multiple Champions League, multiple Ballon d'Ors, hundreds of goals and assists, more league titles, maybe another Euros, maybe even another World Cup. Suddenly, the idea of him entering the GOAT conversation doesn't sound quite so ridiculous. But there's still one massive problem. To become the greatest ever, Yamal can't just be incredible. He has to become historically incredible. We're talking about reaching a level where scoring 40 or 50 goals in a season becomes normal. where you're expected to challenge for the Ballon d'Or every single year, where an entire generation of football is defined by you. That's the standard Messi and Ronaldo created, and Yamal hasn't reached that level yet, not even close. But here's what makes him so fascinating. At 19, he doesn't need to have reached it yet. He just needs to be ahead of the schedule. And right now, he absolutely is. So could Lamine Yamal become the greatest footballer of all time? Yes, I genuinely think he could. Not because he's better than Messi or Ronaldo right now, he's not. But because at 19, he's already built a foundation that almost no player in football history has had. A European Championship, a World Cup, years of top-level football already behind him, and potentially more than a decade of his prime still ahead. But talent gets you into the conversation. Longevity, consistency, trophies, and performing under pressure are what determine whether you stay there. Yamal has completed the first step. Now he has to do the almost impossible part. Keep doing it, again and again and again, for the next 15 years. And if he somehow manages that, Messi and Ronaldo might finally have some company.